Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever get that feeling like your house is just overflowing with stuff?
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, just imagine a collection so big, like over 71,000 items.
Wow.
You actually had to buy the house next door just for storage.
You're
That,
kidding.
that was the reality for Sir Hans Sloane, a man whose passion for collecting led to, the creation of the British Museum.
It's incredible, isn't it? Like his story. It's a journey through medicine, colonialism, the birth of public museums.
It really is.
There's just so much to unpack.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a young boy in a small Irish town.
Small town, but clearly a big imagination.
Sure.
I mean, who spends their childhood like collecting bird eggs, roaming the countryside. I mean, it seems like Sloane's thirst for knowledge, it started early.
Absolutely. That early fascination with the natural world, it really set the stage for everything that followed. And his resilience is striking. I mean, he battled a mysterious illness for years as a teenager. And an experience that seems to have sparked his interest in medicine. And perhaps contributed to his cautious approach to health later on.
I can see that. I can see how facing a serious illness at a young age, especially back then, I mean, medical knowledge was so different back then, how that would shape your perspective.
Think about it. In a time when people considered alcohol essential for digestion,
Right.
Sloane was advocating for water.
Wow.
He was a true pioneer, constantly challenging the norms. And that forward-thinking approach, it's evident throughout his life, from his medical practices to his groundbreaking expeditions.
Okay, speaking of expeditions, let's talk about Jamaica.
Okay.
A 15-month voyage in the 17th century, I mean, that was no Caribbean cruise.
No.
What motivated him? What motivated him to embark on such a risky adventure?
Well, he was appointed physician to the new governor of Jamaica,
Okay.
the Duke of Albemarle. A position that came with immense responsibility. I mean, imagine being entrusted with the health of an entire fleet. During the golden age of piracy,
Right.
travel was perilous, disease was rampant, and yet Sloane meticulously documented everything. The marine life, the people, the plants, his notes paint a vivid picture of a man driven by scientific curiosity.
It's fascinating how he managed to balance his medical duties with his passion for exploring and documenting the natural world.
He truly embodied the spirit of a Renaissance man, absorbing knowledge from every experience.
Yeah.
And this Jamaican adventure, this is where we encounter a popular myth.
Okay.
Did Sir Hans Sloane invent milk chocolate?
Oh, I have to admit, I've always heard that story. Really? Did he stumble upon this delicious combination by chance?
It's a charming tale.
Yeah.
But the reality is more nuanced. While Sloane did bring back cacao to England and praised its medicinal properties, milk chocolate already existed in Jamaica, even before his arrival.
So more like a popularizer than an inventor.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
But still, imagine the sensory experience, tasting that early hot chocolate in 17th century London.
He certainly played a role in introducing this exotic drink to a wider audience, even advocating for mixing it with milk, which became a popular trend.
Ahead of the curve yet again. But let's not forget that there's a darker side to this story, right? I mean, we can't talk about Sloane's collecting without addressing the uncomfortable truth about the role of enslaved labor.
You're absolutely right. Sloane's reliance on enslaved people to procure specimens, his own involvement in exploitative practices, it forces us to confront a difficult and complex legacy.
It makes you question how we reconcile the beauty and wonder of these collections with the often troubling ways in which they were acquired.
It's a question museums continue to grapple with today. How do we acknowledge these uncomfortable truths while still appreciating the scientific and historical value of these objects?
It's definitely a conversation worth having, and I'm curious to see how this tension unfolds as we delve deeper into Sloane's life and the creation of the British Museum.
Yeah, it really does deserve some thoughtful consideration. But before we delve further into the complexities of Sloane's legacy, let's shift gears a bit and talk about his incredible drive to collect.
Good.
Imagine you've amassed so much knowledge, so many fascinating objects, that you need a whole other house just to store it.
Yeah.
That's the scale. That's the scale we're talking about here.
Wow.
And it speaks volumes about Sloane's relentless pursuit of understanding the world.
It really does. It wasn't just about pretty trinkets for Sloane, was it?
No, not at all.
He had a real system, a desire to categorize and understand the natural world.
Yeah. Precisely, his house became what was known as a cabinet of curiosities.
Okay.
A collection of fascinating and unusual objects from all over the world.
Love that.
Imagine a mix of a museum, a library, and a laboratory all rolled into one.
Wow.
He wasn't just amassing things for the sake of it. He was driven by a desire to learn to categorize and to share that knowledge.
So it was more than just a personal collection. It was a way of preserving and organizing knowledge for the future.
Exactly.
And his collection wasn't limited to just plants and animals, right?
No.
It seemed like he was interested in everything.
You're absolutely right. He had books, manuscripts, cultural artifacts from all corners of the globe.
Oh yeah.
He was a true polymath.
Oh.
Deeply interested in botany, medicine, archaeology, anthropology, you name it.
It's amazing.
He even acquired entire collections from other notable figures like William Charlton and James Pettiver.
Oh wow.
Which further expanded his already vast collection.
I can only imagine what it would have been like to visit his house. It must have been like stepping into a different world.
It was a hub. It was a hub for intellectuals and those eager to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Even Carl Linnaeus,
Right.
the renowned botanist who developed the system for classifying organisms that we still use today,
Right.
visited Sloane's collection.
Wow, that's impressive. So even though it wasn't a public museum in the modern sense, it was still a place where knowledge was shared and discussed.
Absolutely, and all this while he was serving as president of both the Royal Society and the Royal College of Physicians.
Oh my goodness.
It makes you wonder how he found the time for it all.
He was a busy man, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But eventually even Sloane had to slow down, right?
He did eventually retire from active practice and those demanding leadership roles due to health issues, but his mind never stopped working even in retirement. He continued to write and publish, focusing on his long-held interest in eye health.
That's great. It's remarkable how he maintained that passion for learning throughout his life.
Yeah.
But what happened to his incredible collection after he passed away?
Well,
he didn't have any sons to inherit it, did he?
no, he didn't while he had 2 daughters. His vision for his collection extended far beyond family inheritance.
Okay.
He wanted to ensure its preservation and accessibility for everyone. That's why he made the remarkable decision to bequeath his entire collection to the British nation.
That's an incredible gesture, but I imagine Parliament wasn't just handed this vast collection without a price tag, were they?
You're right about that. Sloane stipulated that Parliament pay £20,000 to his estate,
Cool.
a significant sum at the time.
Right.
This was to cover the costs of transferring
Okay.
and maintaining the collection and most importantly to ensure its public display. It was a shrewd move to secure his legacy and fulfill his vision of a museum for everyone.
And that, in essence, is how the British Museum was born.
Right.
It's amazing to think that a single person's passion for collecting could spark the creation of such an iconic institution.
It's a testament to the power of individual curiosity and the enduring impact it can have on society. The British Museum Act of 1753 formally established the museum, enshrining Sloane's collection as its foundation. It was truly groundbreaking, the world's first free national public museum.
That's incredible. It's hard to even grasp the sheer volume of objects, over 71,000 items.
I know.
Did everything from Sloane's collection end up in the British Museum?
While the majority of the collection formed, the core of the British Museum portions of it found their way to other institutions.
Okay.
For example, his extensive herbarium,
Okay.
containing over 120,000 dried plant specimens,
Oh, yeah.
eventually went to the Natural History Museum.
A botanist's dream, and some of his books and manuscripts went to the British Library, right?
Exactly. So you can see how Sloane's legacy extends far beyond the walls of the British Museum.
Yeah.
His vast and varied collection has been instrumental in shaping our understanding of the natural world history and different cultures.
What a remarkable impact. But over the centuries, I imagine there have been some inevitable losses,
Yeah.
especially with those fragile specimens and centuries-old documents.
Sadly, you're right. There have been losses, particularly among the more delicate items. There are even stories about some of Sloane's friends accidentally damaging items during visits, much to his dismay.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
can't imagine how he felt seeing a prized specimen damaged.
But despite these unfortunate incidents, the majority of the collection has been meticulously preserved thanks to the foresight of Sir Hans Sloane and the institutions that house his legacy.
It makes you wonder what he would think if he could walk through those museums today and see how his collection has grown and inspired generations of visitors.
Right.
It's incredible to think that a cabinet of curiosities in his own home blossomed into these world-renowned institutions.
It really is. It really is remarkable. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's touch on another aspect of Sloane's life, one that sheds light on his influence and legacy.
Right.
The statues erected in his honor.
Oh, that's right. There's a fascinating story there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
I believe one of the statues was dedicated to him at the Chelsea Physic Garden,
Uh-huh.
a place that clearly held special significance for him.
You're exactly right. It was at the Chelsea Physic Garden that he studied plants as a young man, eager to unlock their secrets. And centuries later, Queen Elizabeth II unveiled a copy of that statue in his hometown of Killyleagh.
Wow.
The Chelsea Physic Garden even received a new version of the statue in 2014 after the original deteriorated.
It's a fitting tribute to a man whose insatiable curiosity and passion for knowledge left such an enduring mark on the world.
It is.
But as we've discussed, his legacy isn't a simple one.
Right.
The shadow of colonialism and the exploitation of enslaved labor looms large, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths.
Indeed, as we marvel at the wonders of his collection and the institutions he helped to create, we must also acknowledge the complex and often painful histories embedded within these objects.
So where does that leave us? How do we reconcile the beauty and scientific value of these collections with the ethical dilemmas they present?
Yeah, it's a question that resonates deeply, especially in today's world. How do we appreciate the knowledge and beauty these objects represent, while also acknowledging the difficult history associated with them?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge facing museums all over the world. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
acknowledging the complexities, being transparent about the origins of objects, and engaging in open and honest discussions about the ethical considerations of collecting.
Particularly in a colonial context.
So it's not about erasing or ignoring the past, but rather understanding it, learning from it, and using that knowledge to shape a more informed and nuanced perspective.
Exactly. It's about holding those seemingly contradictory ideas in our minds at the same time.
Yeah.
Appreciating the scientific and artistic value while also recognizing the injustices that often went into acquiring these objects. And that's not an easy task. It requires a willingness to be uncomfortable, to challenge our assumptions, and to have those difficult conversations.
So what can we, as museum visitors, what can we do? Should we avoid these collections altogether, or is there a way to engage with them in a meaningful way while still being mindful of their complex history?
I don't think avoidance is the answer.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's more important than ever to engage with these collections, but to do so in an informed and thoughtful way.
Okay.
Ask questions, learn about the provenance of the objects, and be open to challenging your own perspectives. Museums can be powerful catalysts for dialogue and reflection, but it requires active participation from all of us.
So we're being called to be more than just passive observers. We need to think critically, question what we see, and seek a deeper understanding of the context surrounding these objects.
Exactly. And by engaging in those conversations, we can contribute to a more nuanced and inclusive understanding of our shared human history, the good, the bad, and the complex.
It's like Sir Hans Sloane's story. As complex and contradictory as it is, it's still unfolding. The questions his collection raises about ethics, colonialism, and the responsibility of museums, I mean, they're just as relevant today as they were centuries ago.
That's what makes this deep dive so compelling. It's not just about the past. It's about how we grapple with those legacies in the present and shape the future of museums and our understanding of the world around us.
Well said. It seems there's much to ponder long after this deep dive. Sir Hans Sloane, physician, collector, royal confidant, and ultimately the catalyst for a global institution that continues to spark debate and ignite imaginations.
And that's the power of a single life, intertwined with the currents of history. A reminder, a reminder that even the most remarkable collections are ultimately about the stories they tell, the connections they forge, and the conversations they inspire.
And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Sir Hans Sloane. If you enjoyed this exploration of history, science, and the enduring power of curiosity, be sure to subscribe to the deep dives for more insightful journeys into the stories that shape our world. We'll keep digging deeper, unearthing hidden narratives, and giving you that satisfying aha feeling that makes learning a joy. Thanks for joining us.